Hey everyone, welcome back to Don't Overthink It. I'm your host Donnie. Today we are talking with Coach Pua. We've talked to him previously in the past and got a little bit of insight from him about him and his football team. Coach Pua, welcome in. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Yeah, not a problem. So my idea this time was to try and sit down with a bunch of other coaches, but due to like I said earlier, due to last minute circumstances, they've had to reschedule or cancel their visits. But we're glad that you were able to make it. Um, Last time we talked about, you had your family history of your coaching with your family, being able to have your brothers and your father along with you, which is pretty exciting. Which could probably be pretty hectic at times too. I can imagine that. Um, Moving past that season, um, the past season, I think you guys did fairly fairly well with your record. From what I saw, it had an overall record of 5-6, and the overall record in your league play was 3-2, which isn't bad, which is pretty good. Um, you had a close game against Sequoia. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. It was a 14-9 win over them, and Santa Clara. You had a 28-27 loss in overtime. Um, so give us a little bit of history about those games right there. I mean, they seem like they were pretty intense games.
Yeah, so we can start off with the Sequoia game. That's always been a rival for us when it comes to league play. So they actually knocked us out of the playoffs the year before in the second round. And so for the kids, it was a revenge game for them. So they were really excited and they really wanted to get that game going. It was a really tough battle. Um, I think it really came down to our defense because we're a very strong defensive school, and so them holding up and stopping them on their offense really gave us an edge. And when it came to the Santa Clara game, I mean, like you know, there's always so many things that you can do and stuff. Me personally, I'm not one of those people that are going to blame the I'm not going to blame the referees. There's always stuff that we can do better. We can prep better. We can, I can see things a little bit better. But when it came to that last drive in overtime, we called our timeout that we had. I'm not sure if you guys have the same thing, but California, we start from the 20-yard line. If you score a touchdown, the other team has a tie, or that's it. Or if you do a field goal, the other team has a chance to score, and after that, it's like sudden death, basically. Um, so yeah, so we scored our touchdown, and we called our timeout, had the kids come over, and I had them decide, do you guys want to go for two? Do we go for a tie, continue to fight? And they said, let's go for the win. And it's like one of those things where you're either a genius or you might be the dumbest person in the state when it comes to those kind of calls and stuff. And, we came up short, and, I guess I was the dumbest person in the state that night. But, the kids were still determined, the kids were still backing my call and stuff. The parents were saying, what are you doing? And blah, blah, blah. And the kids are arguing with their parents saying, no, we wanted this. And we just came up short. And that's like the dedication that I have when it comes to the team. Like they're very accountable when it comes to their play. So that was probably one of the toughest losses that I've taken so far in my career.
Yeah, I read the score on that, and it said 28-27 lost in overtime, and I was like, what? And then it's like a lot of games don't come down to overtime, especially if it's it had to have been an intense game. So there must have been a lot of trash talking. There must have been a lot of, big hits in that game, a lot of big plays offensively, defensively. It could have, so a lot of these things are going through my mind, and I'm trying to figure out what led up to the overtime and stuff. But no, I get it. In California, do you guys have the opportunity to move the ball from, well, let's say you're going for your extra point. Do you have the opportunity to move the ball from the left hash to the right hash, or keep it in the center at the 3-yard marker?
I think we do have the option to do that, but not that many people know that rule.
Yeah, I learned, once I learned that rule, I was like, we're gonna move it to this hash mark, and we're gonna pretend to go one way and then go the opposite way, because when you move that, when you're going for 2, and you move it to the hash mark, they're gonna think you're gonna run to the wide side of the field, the open side of the field, so they tend to stack on that side, especially on the 2.3 yards away, and you fake that way, so that you catch them off guard, and you maybe have a kind of like a bootleg or a quarterback keeper running the opposite direction to go in and get that too. That's something that I learned at the JV level. So at the JV level, I did that, and we became a little bit more successful with the 2-point conversions that we had there. So those are 2 games that I was looking at that stood out. On your record, I did a little bit of homework this past week, just trying to look over everybody's stuff and figure out what we can talk about and stuff. From the roster, it looked like you have a decent amount of guys coming back this year. A lot of batsmen need to step up and come in.
Yeah, I think our strength still this year compared to last year, it's still our linemen. I think I'm only replacing 2 linemen. I'm replacing my center and my right tackle. Everybody else, they've all been playing. We are bringing up a JV guy to run our offense and stuff. We're going to have him compete with one of our seniors to see how he does, but we're kind of leaning more towards the sophomore because we want to build the program around him, same as how we did with our senior quarterback that just graduated.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. I completely agree with that. We have a sophomore who's coming in. Our quarterback now is going to be a junior, so we're bringing up a sophomore to shadow behind him because we lost our senior quarterback. So hopefully we can develop. We can have the junior quarterback develop into put on everything that he's learned, develop the sophomore quarterback, because our sophomore quarterback had to start JV. He would have been our JV swing quarterback, playing both sides of the ball, JV varsity. But our senior starting quarterback actually got hurt. He hurt his knee in like the second game of the season, so he ended up having to run. That was the first game of the season. He got hurt in the first game of the season, so we played our entire season with a sophomore quarterback, and we actually did very well with that game, and with our season on that one. We went 6-5 overall, and we went 3-0 in our league on our conference play. So hopefully we can coach this junior quarterback into somebody who can train the next couple quarterbacks into how they're doing it. So kind of in a similar situation. The quarterback that we're bringing up, he's smart. He's smart. He's played quarterback for a while. The Pop Warner leagues, junior high. He's a really smart quarterback. He's got a decent arm, but he doesn't really have the stature for it. He's probably like, I'd just say like 5'8", $160, somewhere in there. So we got to put a little beef on him. Hopefully he gets a little height, grows a little bit more. But I had him on JV last season, and he did really well for me on JV as a quarterback. He led the team. He kept that positive attitude, everything you look for in the leadership of a quarterback. So that was good. I think he's gonna be a good asset as a backup coming up in the future, and possibly starter. But yeah, it's just been a crazy year with the JV team, and as you know, JV, everything that can happen will happen, because it's JV. You don't really expect, you understand what can happen, but then you don't realize it is happening until you sit back and look at it, and it's like, wow, that actually just happened at the JV level. Something amazing or something funny. So I had one punt returner, a kid return a punt for me, and we were playing a school that was higher up. We play at a 2A level, and they were playing at a 3A level, and he fumbled the ball. The punt return, he fumbled it, he picked it up, and he dropped it again. So he fumbled twice in the same return, and then he picked it up, ran about 80 yards, and got us 6 points. I was like, how did that happen? He should have been tackled back there in the backfield, or we should have lost the fumble, but he picked it up and he turned his wheels on and took off. Boy was cutting and moving and spinning and jumping, and yeah, like I said, anything that can happen on JV will happen.
Yeah, no, I had the same experience. So I'm not sure what you guys use when it comes to getting away from the ball on a punt. So most schools use either Peter or Poison, right? And we finally had a kid named Peter on our team. So the ball goes in the air and we're yelling, Peter, Peter, Peter. And this kid runs straight for the ball, and everybody's like, what are you doing? And he goes, oh, I thought you guys were calling Peter because you guys wanted me to get the ball. And we're like, no, get away from it. It's the opposite. So we had to switch over to Poison. So
yeah, we use Poison. Well, the thing about the punt return is like it bounced. He was in clear. There's nobody within like 15 yards of him, so he had plenty of time to catch the ball, cautiously, comfortably, whatever you want to call it. But it like bounced off his chest, fumbled around in his arms, and it fell to the ground. So we had no other choice but to recover it, or we would have lost it. But he picked it up and he ran with it. And I'm telling him, yelling on the side, like, just fall on it, because we can march down the field and score if we that was an option. But he picked it up and he ran with it, and then he got arm tackled up in the upper body, which the guy dropped the ball out, knocked the ball out of his arm, so it fell in front of him, bounced on the ground once or twice, picked it back up, and then he just took off and he started doing what he did best with it. And I was like, how did that just, it's just, I get it, being a coach at the JV level, it's interesting. So, yeah. So for our first segment that we're going to start off with is, the title of this one is the 2026 landscape and rule changes. Has there been any kind of significant rule changes and stuff that have come through the California system?
Well, not necessarily rules, I would say, but they did just change a little bit of our power rankings. So when it comes to playoffs, we use a power ranking scale. Like there's a whole algorithm that they use, plus the where you are in your league. So ours is like a 5-tier division. So we have an A team, A- team, B minus, and a C. So my team, we're in the B- league, and they actually just changed our strength to going back to C, and now our former C league is now a D league. So they added an extra division for our playoffs. So we now have 6 playoffs. It's just that the Division 6 will have I think it's a 4-team bracket, and then they'll only have a section game. So like their section championship, and then that's it for them. But 1 through 5 is still able to play for a state championship, which is like the really big one that's going on right now. So and that changes like one of our rules in our league. So between the B and the B-, we share playoff spots. So it's the first place of the B league, first place of the B- league, those are automatics. The second place of the B league is also an automatic. And then the last one is between the third place of the B league and the second place of the B- league. So the way that we snuck into the playoffs last year is Sequoia, the team that we beat, was actually in third place. So since we beat them in the head-to-head, we were actually able to slip into the playoffs.
that so our playoff power rankings kind of similar and different, but I try not to understand it because it's just so confusing.
Yeah.
So that's what the head coach does. That's what the head coach is for. He's supposed to understand that. By all means, let him understand that. But like the bigger school, the tougher schools that we play, the more power points we get, and then like the schools that are not so strong in their division or in the league, they give us less points. So if we score 20 points on a team that's a class above us, we'll get more points than playing a team that's the same ranking as us in our division. So it's just like the better schools you play, the more points you get. The not so good schools, you get lesser points. And
Right.
if a lesser school that you play and beat previously the weeks before goes and plays a really good school and they win, the lesser team wins, then that's just gonna add more points to you because you beat that team, and now since they became a better team and outdid a bigger school, they get points, and then you get more points because their status just went up. It's just kind of confusing. It's really ridiculous on how it works out and stuff. It's confusing. I try not to understand it. That's what my coach does. That's what he's supposed to do. So that's what I let him do that. So how has this changed? So with your new brackets and stuff coming up, has that changed how your play calling comes or your practice structure, since you have to play since you have more spots available, but you let me reword this. Since you have more spots available in the playoffs, but then have a bigger chance of not making the playoffs, has this increased your practice structures or play calling? Are you more conservative? You a little bit more aggressive? Hey, let's put points on the board and get it over and done with, or hey, let's conserve it and then make sure we're surviving throughout this game.
Yeah, actually, so since we're now a C tier team, we only have one guaranteed spot now. So, what I've been planning is I'm going to be a little more aggressive, be a little more unique when it comes to my play calling and stuff. And also I'm going, it's like a mixture of being conservative and being unique at the same time. Like, I want to be conservative as in everybody knows what they're doing against any defense at any given time. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Kenny Simpson's like if and then system. Like, if they give us this, then we'll be doing this. I'm going to be leaning really hard into that. And the Bixby High School, I believe in Oklahoma, I might be using some of their formations. I love watching them. Like, if you haven't seen them, you should just watch their offense is so unique. I think they call it the Joker offense because anybody that is a specialist who touches the ball, they have to throw. They have all these crazy formations and stuff. One of the things that I really like is they actually shift their tackle and their guard to be their receivers. And that's kind of how my head coach used to use me because I played tight end. And he sat there and he said, well, if you're our best open field blocker, why don't you go play receiver? So here I am playing wide receiver, wearing number 48. I have a full cage face mask, like a Justin Tuck face mask, playing wide receiver, and I'm just manhandling these little corners and stuff. Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. We're gonna switch up a little bit of our defense as well. We have the reigning defensive player of the year coming back, so he's only going to be a junior now. So him leading our defense is going to be really good too.
Okay. So along with that, you said that you've had to change your strategies a little bit. You've had to get a little bit more aggressive and conservative at the same time. Are you seeing any kind of evolution in the offensive defensive schemes? Like, how do you think teams are preparing for you, since you've seen since you prepare one way, and then how do you think the teams you played prior seasons are preparing for you? Have you seen a change in it? Is there anything?
The biggest thing that everybody's starting to adjust to is bringing back the power tee, the Delaware tee.
Yeah.
That's one of our bread and butters that we use. I've been using it since 2023, I believe. Yeah, that's when I brought it in, and a lot of the defenses were having really hard times trying to like stop that because it's so simple. It's, there's only maybe 4 plays that we use. We use wedge, ISO, power, and a toss. So all of our kids know that formation. All of our kids know what to do and stuff. And, it's like how modern the defenses are to stop the passes and stuff. They forget that you still have to tackle people. So when we're using old school stuff and they're using modern defenses, it's really hard for them to stop like the old school stuff. So, so far only one school's really adjusted to it. We did get stopped a couple times. That was Terra Nova, but Terra Nova's always been a really good program when it comes to the Bay Area. They're a very well coached team. But other than that, most of the other schools, they still haven't found an answer to it just yet. And once they do find an answer to it, we're going to bring out a triple option out of it too.
Triple option.
Yeah.
Triple option is I mean, obviously triple option, you have so many options to do off of one play,
Mm-hmm.
So that's a different style of play. That's pretty much what we do here. The triple option. So with the increased focus on safety, what is the most challenging part of structuring your practice, a high intensity practice, and being able to keep your kids healthy and ready for Friday nights? Because I know if you just do like walkthroughs and stuff like that, you're really not preparing yourself for Friday night.
Right.
So how do you do that? How do you prepare a high intensity practice and still keep your kids healthy for the game on Friday?
So what we usually do is our most intense practices are either Mondays or Tuesdays. I want to say Tuesdays probably are more heavier when it comes to full contact. Mondays are kind of like basically just schemes showing what we might see and stuff like that, walk through it a little bit, and then we do a heavy inside run on Monday, and then on Tuesdays it's full contact when it comes to offense and defensive team. And then Wednesday, Thursday, we're usually just shells, helmets, and shoulder pads and stuff. And later on in the season, we'll probably just go helmets when it comes to our walkthroughs and stuff like that. And we also use the Guardian caps too. And we have our kids wear the Guardian caps during games. And I guess that's a big thing right now because they had a whole article about the way that we're using the Guardian caps.
Yeah, I'm not against the Guardian caps. I think I would try, if you feel like you need to use a Guardian cap, I strongly encourage it. So I mean, I'm not against it. If you feel you need it, then you need it. I had a kid. He graduated a couple years ago, but he was my quarterback. He didn't want to play quarterback, but I was like, I need you in that quarterback position. So he's like, all right, I'll do it, and he became one of the best quarterbacks I coached. And he got slammed on the ground, and he got a concussion. I mean, this guy was barely staying awake on the sideline. We had him sent out in an ambulance, and come to find out he had a cyst behind his eye, which luckily enough didn't rupture when he got slammed, but it was protected enough by all the fatty tissues and stuff around his eye and stuff. So he was able to, he was able to have that to, we were lucky he had that happen because we wouldn't have found a cyst. We wouldn't have been able to protect them that much, but thankfully enough. But ever since that happened, I was like, you know what, we need to look into guardian caps, but guardian caps are expensive, but they're well worth it if you can afford to get them. They're well worth it. Keep your kids safe at any point in time, but those head injuries are something serious. They're serious stuff. Not to joke around with or anything, but yeah, that's some serious stuff right there. So next question I have for you says, when you look back at a season 5 or 10 years from now, what are the specific character traits you hope your players have internalized regardless of their win or loss season?
That's a good question. Can you repeat it again or reword it?
So the question is, what character traits do you hope to pass along to your players, that they remember, that they pick up from you a couple of years down the road after they're graduated, started their family, started their lives? What are some of the what's one of the traits you hope to pick up on?
Oh, accountability, 100% accountability. Usually when the kids that we have, they're tough. A good amount of them single parent households, low income, and they just come in. They think that they can run things, and they're very hot headed and stuff. And like it's kind of like they're wild horses. We have to break them in and let them understand, like, you guys can't do it like this. Like, you can't live your life this way. You guys are going to end up in places that we don't want you to be in. And you guys need to hold yourselves accountable, be disciplined, and understand, there's people that are actually out there that are there to help you. I had one kid, came in, hated the world, couldn't stand his teachers, always arguing with his teachers and stuff. But the crazy thing was he had a 3.9 GPA. He was working full time. And so I spent maybe 3 years just, getting on him, telling him, you can't do this, I'm here for you. I understand you're going through some stuff, but, I'm here for you. And so his senior year, he was really quiet one day, and I'm standing next to him, and he goes, Coach, I get it now. I understand. And so we talked a little bit and stuff, and he ended up being the linebacker of the year this year. And so, like, it's really one of the toughest things for our program. I mean, it's really hard to say. It's like, keeping grades. It's one of the things that, like, other schools can just look past and stuff, especially when they have the resources, but our kids don't have that. And so we're really on them and stuff like that. And, like, we show them, if you don't do the work that you're supposed to, you're going to be disciplined for it. And we always say, like, it doesn't matter if you're a 5-star athlete or, like, you're the next, like, Barry Sanders. It doesn't matter. If you're not doing your stuff in school, we will save you. And, parents can complain, they can do all they want and stuff, but that's just the way that it has to be. Because we can't just reward these kids when they're not doing things right.
Yeah, no, I like that accountability. That's a big key, especially nowadays with, like you said, the kids who come from the struggling backgrounds and stuff. The kids who need the program. And there's a term that there's a saying that I've heard quite a few times, and it goes specifically towards kids that are troubled like that. It's the kids who need the program, but the program doesn't need the kid. Does that make sense? So a lot of the kids that come up in that situation need that structure to help them be who they are and be good citizens when they graduate high school and stuff, and they get out on their own. They have that structure that football developed them. Personal experience, I was one of those kids. I did a lot of things that I wasn't supposed to do in high school, and football gave me that structure to be who I am and where I'm at now. Business owner, running this show, doing different things like that. That's what football gave me, is that structure that ability, that accountability to move forward and be as productive as I can in my community. So I get that when football didn't need me, I needed football. So I get what you're saying when you talk about that.
Yeah. And then it's also interesting too because of like so I coached shot put and discus as well, and this year I had mostly girls on my shot put and discus team, and they were telling me like, wow, you guys are really intense when it comes to the football players. You guys are really nice with everybody else. And I was like, yeah, it's because they kind of need that. Like, we need to hold their hands and show them things sometimes. And they said that like the best thing to hear is having students come up to us and saying, oh yeah, this kid has changed a lot since he's been in the program. That like makes you feel really good about it.
So let me ask you a question that's off topic. So my daughter played. She's 14 years old. She's gonna be a freshman. She did track for the first time. She did long jump, shot put, and she did the 100-meter relay, I think it was. And anyway, she was able to throw the shot put 31 feet 4
Wow.
inches.
Wow.
Yeah. She's not a small person either. She's probably, I think she's about 5'8", like 140 pounds, 135 pounds, somewhere in there. So she's not a very small person. She's structured pretty well. She's pretty big. Athletically built. And then we're trying to get her started for recruiting. She wants to play softball. She has a cannon of an arm throwing a softball. She wants to. I was like, okay, so they're gonna ask for your 60-yard time. Well, probably 60-yard time. So we might as well get your 40-yard time. And this is what impressed me a lot. She ran her 40-yard time in 4.9 seconds. Wow. Never running a 40-yard dash. She ran at 4.9, and she ran her 60-yard in 5.7, which is really fast. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm gonna have to go out and time her again, but as a coach there, being a coach myself, I don't coach my daughter on anything because I would just flip out and say, hey,
no, I completely understand that part.
I would go crazy and lecture her and stuff. I still do, but not as a father, but not as a coach. But she doesn't want to do track anymore, and I was like, your ability to be able to do these things are coming from how well you're athletically developed, your flexibility, you're being able to understand what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. Just the natural athleticism coming from it is something that a lot of schools look for, and a lot of schools want that on their team. If you have an opportunity, you should continue doing the track and field and stuff. And it's just kind of like it's just hard persuading her to do something. I mean, she's a teenager. She's got that mindset of, I know what's good for me and stuff. So it's just kind of, I don't know. It's just frustrating. Like I said, I don't want to coach her as a coach. I don't want to be her coach because she's got plenty of those. I just want to be a supportive dad and be like, hey, you know what? You have an opportunity to progress and be better and stuff. But it is what it is. She took off basketball and she took time off. She was a manager for it. And then when track came around, she's like, I'm going to do track. I'm going to run track. And she was dead. She was like, the first 2 weeks she was dead. She couldn't move. She's like, I'm never taking off a sport again. I was like, see, I told you, listen to me, because, it's going to kill you. And it did. She couldn't move for 2 weeks and legs were cramping up and her muscles were so sore. And she's got to stay with it, get back in it and stuff. So we got her in the weight room. She's hitting the weights and hopefully she can get stronger and be able to do better things in her life. But yeah, she's definitely progressing in a positive way.
That's good. Yeah, actually, speaking of softball, I'm not sure if you heard of Megan Grant. She's from UCLA.
I haven't, no. I don't really follow college softball.
Yeah, so she's actually, I think she has the record for most home runs in softball. or I think in UCLA. It might be in the league that she was in. But she's actually, her brothers are actually part of my football team growing up. So I've known her since she was a little kid and stuff. And she got drafted into like the softball pro league, and she just hit her first home run at her first at bat or something like that. But yeah, fun little fact.
Nice. That's exciting. Yeah, she was so excited coming back from PE. She's like, I was hitting dingers in softball. I was taking those things yard, and I was like, well, let's translate that to the softball field now. Let's get it
Right.
over with that fans, the real fans. Let's get over the real fans. But yeah, she's like a number 4 or 5 hitter when it comes to the lineup. She's got some power. Got to work on the
That's good.
speed a little bit, but she's got power.
That's good.
Exciting coming up. Side news. Sorry, I didn't mean to get off topic.
No, it's fun.
Can you share a story about a specific moment where you saw your team's culture truly shine through during a difficult situation on or off the field? And I know you were talking earlier about, the game that you played against that you lost to in Sequoia. The Sequoia game. They beat you, knocked you out of the playoffs the year prior. You came back and beat them 14-9. I mean, you probably have a lot more, but that's something that I was referencing when I was reading that question to you. I was like, that Sequoia game was a pretty good. It shows the culture of the team and how they're not going to let the previous games keep them down. Like, oh, they beat us before, they're going to beat us again. A lot of teams have that kind of mindset, and they don't know how to get out of that. So other than that one, what's one way that you've seen your team's culture come out and in a tough situation?
Actually, so 2 years ago, the year that Sequoia beat us, the first round of playoffs, I think that was probably the hardest game that we had to coach. And it was because my dad was actually having a health scare. He has a defibrillator in his heart and stuff, and it went off in the first quarter. So, it was really hard to try to like have the kids focus and stuff because they're watching like their head coach, like, some of these kids, they don't have father figures, so they're looking at their father figure just go down. And he's on the floor, and all the kids are trying to like help him up and stuff while there's a game going on. So we're on an offensive drive. We're just driving down the field and stuff, and I'm just focusing on the game. I'm not sure what's going on behind me, but I know that it's really, really quiet. I don't know what's going on. I'm not sure what's happening, but every time, the way that we call our plays is we either use hand signs or we have our slot receivers rotating. So I always have 3 slot receivers. They're always rotating because we motion and shift a lot. So I need my slots to be 100% sprinting every time they're in the game. So every time I grab one of my slot receivers, their eyes are glossy. They're kind of fumbling with the play when they're repeating it to me. And I'm just throwing them into the game. And so the ambulance gets called, and we score that drive. So I'm turning around. I finally see that it's chaotic on the sideline. My dad is sitting on the bench with the vice principal. My mom is on the field, and that was the red flag that something was wrong. And my mom was on the field, and so I take a quick glance at that. I turn around, trying to get my special teams out there. I look over, and my brother is, he's grabbing my dad, and he's forcing him to sit back down on the bench. My dad is yelling, trying to get the special teams out there too. My brother sits him down and says, "Sit here, stay down, we got it." And he runs out. My brother runs out, gets the defense ready. So now it's his turn to run the defense. The ambulance finally comes, picks up my dad, and he's off. And this is when everything goes from this is real life to this feels like a movie. I have another brother, he's in the box, and he calls down and he says, "Hey, what's wrong with your dad?" And for me, it was a really tough thing to say, but I had to be on the headset and I had to tell him, look, I don't know what's going on with my dad, but I have kids that I need to lead. So I'm going to do that first. We'll deal with my dad later. And he said, all right, let's do it. So then the referees call a timeout. One of the referees was a good friend of my dad. So he comes over to the sideline, saw that my dad was carted off. He says, first and foremost, is your dad okay? And we're like, yeah, our sister just texted us. He's in the hospital. Everything looks fine. The nurses were saying that his blood pressure was better than theirs. And he said, okay, cool. So now who's going to be the interim head coach? And I look over at my younger brother, defensive coordinator, point at him and say, he's going to be the head coach. And I say, all right, let's go ahead and do it. And the first half, it was 7-7 throughout the first half. Our kids looked like they didn't want to play. And so it comes halftime, and they're crying. You know, they're like inconsolable at this point. Like, some of the kids are punching the walls because they're so scared and things like that. And we just couldn't get them to focus. And so I don't say anything during halftime. I told everybody, you know, hey, focus up. Listen, like, you know, another tough thing that I had to say is, you know, my dad has raised us. Me and all my siblings, we're all in our 20s. We're going on 30 now. My dad has already done his job of raising us. We're going to be fine. Okay, you guys are kids. This is still a game. You guys need to play the game. If you guys want to dedicate this game to him, then do that. But show us that you guys want to play. And when they went out there, they went 21 points unanswered and ended up winning that game. And yeah, that just showed the resolve in the kids and stuff. Like, they understand that's like some adversity that you don't ask kids to go through. But like, they really showed their strength and stuff, and they showed like their dedication to the program. And it was a very touching thing for them.
Yeah, that's a lot for kids to go through. Especially someone like you said, a father figure to most of them, go down, and see someone like that go down, and it's hard to take. It's hard to be able to continue your focus on something that at that time doesn't seem so important. The important part of it is, you know, is this guy okay? You know, how's he going to turn out? Different things like that. That's the important thing right there, in a lot of people's mindsets. Not the football game, but to come back and to be able to do what they did and stay focused on a game to be successful. That shows a lot of culture, a lot of who. That shows who trained them well. You know, who taught them how to be responsible, accountability for their own things that they need to do. And that goes to show what kind of a coach they have, what kind of coaches they have leading them, to be able to say, hey, you know what, this is what we got going on now. He's in good hands right now. He's at the hospital. He's doing this. He's being taken care of. You know, let's focus back on what we need to focus on, and continue this. That comes a lot from the coaching staff, to you and your coaches that you coach with. That's pretty awesome that they were able to pull through and get that. So this next question is kind of gonna, well, I guess I'm gonna skip that one because you pretty much answered that one right there. It was gonna go about mental toughness and building approach and coaching and mental toughness. How do you keep your kids how do you keep your kids focused in tough situations, and how do you keep them focused in big rivalry games? So we're just gonna go ahead and avoid that question, since you pretty much already answered that. Building This is so strategically. You start off in the season, new coaches, you're new to a program. Like you said, you had the opportunity to. Uh, Previously, you said you had the opportunity to come back and coach um, out of high school and stuff. Um, but building a cohesive coaching staff is a major understanding. What is the process for finding assistant coaches who truly share your vision for the game, for the program? So like what's something that you guys look for when you go and hire on new coaches? I'm sure you guys collaborate together as a coaching staff to be able to make the final decision or the final say. What is something that you guys look for?
It's really the main thing is the relationship with the kids. Like anybody can show X's and O's and draw things up, understand schemes and stuff. But if you can't translate like a higher thing, like the Gruden play, like the video of him telling this ginormous play, like if you can't break that down to the kids and have them understand those concepts, then it's kind of pointless. Like we want to understand like the relationship between the kids and stuff, between the kids and the coach, because the whole thing is our main thing is like we need the kids to trust us first. And with that, what we do is we're a little unique with our coaching style. We talk smack to our kids, but the only thing that's different is we allow our kids to talk smack back to us. Like, it's kind of one of those things, like, if you can't dish it out, don't say it, ordeals and stuff like that. And so building that trust with the kids and stuff, it starts translating to when we start asking them to do certain things. So, like, for example, like, culturally, between the two rivalry schools, so we're blue, our rivals are red. We don't let our kids wear red anywhere on our campus. If they're in the football program, and if they wear it to our practice, it's up to the captains to figure that out, because if we can't trust you to wear specific colors and stuff, I can't trust you to catch a ball on 3rd and 20 and you're in double coverage, and so when it comes to our coaching staff, like we kind of get a feel of how will they be with us as a coaching with the coaching staff. Just understand, like let them know what our dynamic is, see how they respond to it and stuff, and we want to make sure that clicks first before the knowledge of the football comes in. And then once all of that stuff is ready and stuff, then we let them talk to the kids, see how they react with the kids and see how the kids react to them. And then from there on, we'll see if like they'll still be with us or if we'll be moving on the next year. But we usually try to do like a kind of like an in-house kind of hiring. Like we usually look at like former players that already know our schemes. They understand who we are as people. It makes it a little bit easier. I think this year we have 2 volunteers. It's one of our quarterbacks from a couple years ago, and one of my guards who was first team all-league both years for his junior and senior year. So they'll be coming back and helping us out.
So you got some talent returning to help coach.
Yeah,
I like it a lot. And obviously they have a little bit more in common with with your athletes because of the age range. They're just early 20s, maybe even not even 20 yet. They have that age range right there where they can relate to one another. Be like, hey, I remember when I was your age, or when we did this at that practice. Listen to this coach. He knows what he's talking about. He got me to this 2-time, all-state lineman and stuff like that. He made me the best lineman I could be. They got that relationship going on right there already. So that's a big key to being successful, especially with the incoming freshmen who are not aware of how you guys are. I'm sure they are, but they're not aware of how your system is set up, how your programs go. Being able to fall back on those upperclassmen coming back and helping you teach is key in my is a big key on my table.
Yeah, and then to piggyback off that part is when it comes to freshmen, it's always funny because like the new freshmen will tell them, okay, you have 2 weeks, just learn, see the dynamic of the school, see the program, understand it. After that, you guys are going to be treated like everybody else. But if there's siblings, like younger siblings that have seen their older siblings go through the program already, they're automatically just like the varsity team. They get yelled at the same way. They get treated the same way because they've already seen the program. So they get a little bit of a head start of it. And so right now, I think we have 2 freshmen that had siblings already in the program, and we're having a lot of fun with those too.
It's like you don't get a break. If you have siblings, you don't get a break. You already know what's coming.
No, you're just like everybody else.
Yeah. So, how do you proactively set expectations with parents at the start of the season to ensure a supportive environment? I know we've all had them yelling at us from the stand. Hey, coach, run this play. Throw the ball here. Run the ball here. Put this player in. Pull that player out. We get that as a coach. You got to be able to ignore that. How do you handle that as a preseason? And in the preseason, do you have like a parent meeting and say, hey, you know what? These are the rules, expectations of the players, the parents, and the coaching staff? And how do you go about that?
So we have a beginning of the year meeting with all the parents and stuff, and then we have a printed out sheet of basically our expectations and our rules for the program. We get to know them and we'll talk to them about basically what we expect and stuff. I'm fortunate enough not to have that situation where a parent is yelling, "Oh, put my kid in" and stuff. I have a very special way of solving that issue, which I really won't get into. It's not too bad, but and it's always funny because I'll sit there and I'll tell the kids what would happen if their parent ever tells me, and they would say, 1, that is funny. 2, I'm 100% telling my mom not to say that. Then, but usually we have a really good set of parents. They're usually very understanding and stuff, and we try to make sure that they know that our main focus is school first, sports second. And one of the things that I do personally is I have the kids sign a contract where it basically just says I am such and such. I'm part of the football program. To avoid getting into trouble, I request to be seated within the first 2 rows of the classroom, and with the exception of seating charts. So then I have all the teachers sign it just to show that, there's a sense of community between the sports programs and school.
Okay. Alrighty, that's so every coach has this superstitions. Everybody has superstitions. Every coach, especially if you're a coach, they have superstitions. Are there any specific pregame rituals or like lucky charms that you do before the game? Let's say around Friday afternoon, Friday morning, before the game. Is there anything you do specifically to prepare yourself for that game? If I don't do this, we're not gonna have a good game. Is there, if I don't, make sure my coaching staff does their thing? Is there any kind of superstition there?
Well, one of my superstitions, I kind of have 2. The first one is I grow my hair out throughout the season. I've been doing that since I was like a little kid when I was playing football. My dad was always like, "Oh, don't cut your hair during the football season because 1, it's bad luck, and 2, it's going to mess with the fitting of your helmet." So I always grow my hair out, and then maybe in the playoffs I'll cut it, but during the regular season I always grow my hair out. And the other one, which is really, really funny, is I watch the Niners games the Sunday before, because for some reason, every time the Niners win, we win. And every time the Niners lose, we lose. So I got to make sure that Brock Purdy's healthy all the time. And that is.
So that's a good one, I guess. I mean, Brock Purdy did come from Arizona, so
Right.
I mean, so I'm kind of with that. When I was playing, I would shave my head preseason, before the season got started, and then that way when I got my helmet, it fit to my head, and then I would let my hair grow during the season, and now we added more cushion, more padding. My personal opinion, more cushion, more padding, more comfortable. But that's something that I did on my end. You kind of already answered this one a little bit ago. If you could sit down with every incoming freshman on their first day of camp, what is one piece of advice you'd give them? Gosh, I can't read this one. If you could sit down with every incoming freshman on their first day of camp, what is the one piece of advice you'd give them what is one piece of advice that you would give them before they put the helmet on? I don't know if that made sense.
I would honestly say absorb everything, from the culture, from the way that the seniors interact with everybody, and the way that how everybody listens, understanding concepts, things like that. Like just the way that people take notes the same way, or the way that they're standing in certain drills to see better. Just understanding everything, because it'll make things a little bit easier. Because California, it's the youth football programs aren't what they used to be. They're very rare now. So for them to lose all that time learning the sport, we have to catch them up. And the faster they catch up, the better for them. Because there's a huge leap of their skill set when they go from their JV years into their varsity years. Like our JV teams can go maybe 0-10, but then they come into varsity and they're like 13-0. So the more things that they learn, the more things that they observe, the better for them.
Okay, so be a sponge. Be a sponge the first year. Absorb all you can, learn all you can. That way it translates from JV, your freshman JV, to varsity. That way when your number does get called, you're prepared to be able to handle that situation.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Be a sponge. We'll call that be a sponge. Soak everything up. So as you know, previously being on the show, we do a final thoughts, inspirational quote, something like that. I don't know if you picked one. I don't know if you have one or not off the top of your head or not, but I got one. This one's from Winston Churchill. It says, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts.
Oh yeah, I like that one. It's like fail is first attempt in learning. But the quote that I want to use is, I don't know if I used this last time, but it's the same water that softens the potato hardens the egg. It's not about your surroundings, it's about what you're made of. And that just really correlates with the group of kids that I have. Like, they all come from tough backgrounds and stuff, but they still are a unit, and they're still able to beat things and stuff. They can still go to school and make something out of themselves in general, just to try to get out of the city and do something with themselves.
Who wrote that?
I don't remember who actually said it. I've just heard it a few times here and there, and I've been using it ever since.
I like that. You should text that over to me.
Yeah, no, I will.
That's pretty cool. I like that one. I might use that one. I have one that I use all the time. difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations, which is kind of it's kind of bland. It's kind of worn out, but it is what it is. I mean, without failure, without any kind of hardship, are you really doing anything? You know?
Right, exactly.
So
It's
I
not
like
hard.
that
You're doing
one,
it wrong.
right? It's got to be hard. Make sure it's hard. But yeah, I mean, I like yours. I really like it a lot. So yeah, you send that over to me, and I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna steal it from you.
Yeah, go ahead.
But with that, I want to say thank you for coming in, and unfortunately, we weren't able to have everybody here today. But I think it was a good session. I think we had a good time. Got to learn a lot about what's coming this season. Different things like that. And best of luck to you and your team on your coming season. And we'll touch base with you in December sometime and see how your season went, Coach.
That'll be good. All right.
Yeah. And all you guys out there listening, wherever you go, whatever you do, make sure you stay safe and don't overthink it. See you guys later.